All right, and we back on the forecast. So I saw a lot of people out there protesting that restaurant, Houston's, after a brother tried to get service, but they wouldn't accommodate him, and the restaurant wouldn't let him come in. So let's see what happened.
Okay, it's just not something that we do. I mean, I'm not going to lose my job.
Where does it say that? I want to see it written.
Okay. A, stop recording me. You need my consent to
What
do that.
No, we don't.
Yes, you do.
I need to see it written.
If you guys don't go.
You are refusing us seating in an
Because
establishment.
it's not something that we do company-wide.
Okay, well, I want to be sat with people
You can
before.
call any other Houstons in the area and they'll do the exact same
I'm
thing.
taking my woman out to eat and my two
Show me on
friends.
paperwork,
We
please.
don't accommodate parties larger than 6.
Show
I'm
me
not
on
asking you
paperwork.
to accommodate a party larger
I'm
than
going to ask
6.
you guys to leave.
I'm asking my
Because you're making
queen
a
and my
scene.
two
I
friends
understand that,
to
but
be.
it's-
Do
you're
you
making
accommodate
now
parties
you're-
of 4?
We do.
Okay,
So
so
can
I want
us
to be
4
sat.
please go
You guys
eat?
came in at 7 and I really don't have the
No,
time
we
to do
did
this
not.
back
I
and forth
came in
with
by
you.
myself,
I really
and
don't
I'm
have
taking
the
my
time.
queen and my two friends
So
to
if you
eat.
guys, okay, and I understand that. And if you all come back and it's just 4 of you, that's fine. But it's not like we
I
know that
want
you're party
to
set.
see it written
And I'm
on
going to ask
paper.
you to step back.
I'm going to ask you to show it to me on paper.
What is your problem?
I'm
so sorry.
4 people are asking to be seated.
I'm asking to be sat.
You're denying us seating.
We understand.
So seat me, please. I'm asking to be
We're not denying
sat.
your seating. We're just asking that if you could just bring it down.
I'm asking to be treated like any other party.
But we've been doing that. We're being
That's not
disrespectful.
happening. I'm being disrespectful.
You're talking, you're yelling and putting your hands.
I am. So show me on paperwork. Show me on paperwork. Where's that
I
rule?
don't have to do that.
No.
Well, I don't have to not be sat as a party of 4. So show me on paperwork. Where's that
Hang out in the lobby as long as
Show
you
me on
like.
paperwork. Where's the rule?
You're more than happy to, stand
Sir, I want to be sat as a
Can
party
we
of
act
4.
like civilized people here?
Please.
Okay.
Can we act like civilized people here?
Can I be sat as a party of 4?
We're asking to be sat as a party of 4. They're saying we know you came in at 7. How are you going to tell us our relationship with those people?
I'm so sorry. We don't split up large parties.
We're not asking you to split us up. Stop doing the little redirect spin narrative you do. Listen to the English. Us 4 people are listening.
Both are being very disrespectful
No,
to us.
you're being
No, you
disrespectful.
disrespected us, sweetheart. You disrespected us when we walked in here.
Sir,
I'm so sorry. No one
what I'm
disrespected
asking
you
is
at
that
this point.
4 people are asking to be seated. I'm not speaking on behalf of any other people, but 4 people.
So can
Are we all clear on that?
I mean,
I know that.
so we're just, at this point, we're just, the relationship has been too aggressive.
At this point,
So we're just gonna,
No, it has been too aggressive. You denied us seating.
Just because, this has been aggressive. Like,
Why are you guys denying us
You guys
seating?
were in a lawsuit is what you want. So that's
Why? But on what grounds are you denying us seating? I don't understand it.
because we're being aggressive, so we're trying to, we're just.
But no, I'm talking about initially, the aggression is because of the discrimination that's happening.
You guys can go to
I
a
don't
different.
appreciate how we've been
But
treated.
why are you discriminating against us?
We're not discriminating.
You are discriminating against us.
Every week we patronize this
You
business.
are.
I want to be
we're
sat as a
okay.
party of 4. We come
Ma'am,
here
ma'am,
all the time.
ma'am.
You're not gonna yell at me, and at this point, we're not gonna do actually.
But why are you discriminating against? If you discriminate against me, yes, I'm going to be
Sir, can
aggressive.
you please lower your voice? We're just going to deny service right now. The relationship has been too aggressive. We're going to deny service.
Because we've
I'm
been
sorry.
denied service from the jump. We
You
should have
just-
been denied service from the
You denied us service from the very beginning. This is the problem.
Right, that's why it escalated.
So I can't speak up for myself?
At this point, the conversation is over, and I do
For a business
apologize,
standpoint
but
from
we
going
are going
forward.
to.
All right, so this brother tries to bring his people to this restaurant, and they say, well, it's 7 of you. We can't let you in. And so by the time in this video, the other people had already left. He said, well, you know what? It's just 4 of us, and they still would not let him in. Now, it's people out there trying to protest, trying to get Houston shut down, and they're out in front of the restaurant every day protesting.
Our streets! Who's steady? Our city! Who's steady?
We'll close Houston down for the moment indefinitely.
Our city! Who's steady? Our city! Who's steady?
When they figure out how to treat us,
Our city! Who's steady?
they can open back up.
Shut him down! 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 Shut him down!
Not in our city.
Shut him down!
Peace Street, we on the way. They closed, ma'am. They closed, ma'am. Ain't no spinach dip today. Ain't no damn spinach dip today. Ain't no Hawaiian steak today. They closed, ma'am.
How you doing?
I know.
Now, me personally, I kind of prefer if a restaurant say whites only, no Negroes, because it makes it way easier to figure out who not to give my money to. When these people smile in your face, you don't know who is who. And I prefer the people who are out in the open with it. So at least I know where I stand with you. So at least I know how to deal with you. Now, to me, there are 3 times that it matters if you're a racist or not. Number 1, if you work for the government in any kind of way, from politician to DA, from policymaker to police, hell, even down to the COs. It matters if it's a job dealing with the government in any kind of way. Number 2, if you're somebody like George Zimmerman who profiles a black person and kills them and can get away with it. It matters if you beat up a mentally disabled high school student and molest him and shove a coat hanger up his ass and get away with it.
For months leading up to a brutal attack in the small town of Dietrich, Idaho, 3 white high school football players were accused of hurling racist epithets at their black, mentally disabled teammate. In a lawsuit by the victim's family, the boy was often the target of racism and bullying. Members of the Dietrich High School football team allegedly called the victim racist names, such as Kool-Aid, Chicken Eater, Watermelon, and the N-word. John R.K. Howard, the accused ringleader of the torment, allegedly pulled up a Confederate flag on his computer while ordering the boy to recite the lyrics of an N-word-laced song called Notorious KKK. Dietrich coaches also allegedly encouraged other players to fight the boy, at one point knocking him unconscious while other students shouted racist catcalls. The boy was also allegedly on the receiving end of wedgies and being stripped of his clothing while teammates took naked photos of him. But the abusive behavior turned worse in October of 2015. According to court documents, the victim was lured under the pretense of receiving a hug from a teammate in the locker room. He was then bent over and had a coat hanger inserted and kicked in his rectum repeatedly. The victim's injuries were so bad, he needed to go to 2 hospitals for treatment. I screamed, the boy testified. I was pretty upset. I felt really bad, a little bit betrayed and confused at the same time. It was terrible, a pain I've never felt. The victim has also received psychological treatment for increased paranoia and agitation. Howard faced life in prison with his previous charge of forcible penetration by a foreign object. He pleaded guilty to the charge injury of a child, a lesser felony charge. The sex crime charges have been dropped. He will avoid prison and jail time. Deputy Attorney General Casey Hemmer said that if the case had gone to trial, prosecutors would have proved that Howard kicked a coat hanger into the victim's rectum after another football player put the hanger there. It was egregious behavior. It caused the victim a lot of suffering, but it is not, in my view, a sex crime, Hemmer said. We don't believe it's appropriate for Mr. Howard to suffer the consequences of a sex offender. Howard will serve 2 to 3 years of probation and up to 300 hours of community service. If Howard completes the probation and doesn't commit any more crimes, his conviction will be removed.
It matters if you try to hang an 8-year-old little boy. If you try to commit harm on anybody, and especially if you get away with it because of their race, then it matters. And number 3, which doesn't matter as much as the first 2, if you hire somebody for a job or a company. Now, when you look at history, I do understand why it matters if you're racist, if you hire for a company, because when you look at history, our economies were literally attacked and destroyed. They built highways right through our main economy. The streets with the most businesses on them, they just tore them all down and built the highway right through them. Our people have been economically attacked and economically starved out. So yes, I understand how it matters if you're racist, if you hire people. But at the same time, if I start a company and want to hire all black people, not because I hate white people, but because I know my people need it the most, I should be able to do that. And I certainly don't want to give my money away and give my business to the companies that don't like me or my people, that is okay with the oppression of my people, that benefit off the oppression of my people. And you know what? Back during Jim Crow, these white restaurants, all of these white places said, you know what? We don't want no niggas in here. Your money is no good here. So what did? We built our own. We built our own grocery stores. We built our own restaurants. We built our own everything, and we spent money with each other. And it made us millionaires by accident because we recycled the money within our own community. Because the problem is we think we have a choice. Today we think we have a choice to spend our money within our community or outside of our community. But we never had a choice. And maybe if these companies start saying we're not going to serve you, we'll be able to start creating more of our own businesses. And we'll be able to spend our money within our own communities. And these are things we can start working towards today. These are things we can start doing right now. Like when the Cowboys owner, Jerry Jones, says, if you don't stand up for the anthem, then you're not going to play.
You had two defensive players raise their fists at the conclusion of the national anthem. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I don't know anything. I don't know about that. But if there's anything that is disrespectful to the flag, then we will not play. You understand? Under no circumstances will we, as an organization or as coaches, players, not support and stand and recognize and honor the flag.
Now, if all the black players said, well, I'm not standing up for the national anthem, and he says, well, you're not going to play, the Cowboys wouldn't ever win another game again. And if all of these owners fire the players who do take a knee, who in the hell is going to be playing in the NFL? And all of these white people that say, well, I'm not going to watch the NFL anymore if these players take a knee. Good. Stop giving your money to these white billionaire owners. Maybe if they fire all the black players, then they would say, well, hey, we'll make our own league and we'll be the millionaire players and the billionaire owners. These people are saying, well, yeah, you have the right to do whatever you want, but I don't think you know what that right means. That right means you got to do what I tell you to do.
Would be former Bear coach Mike Ditka, and he has this to say about what is going on in football right now.
I think that you have to be colorblind in this country. You got to look at a person for what he is and what he stands for and how he produces. All of a sudden, it's become a big deal now about oppression. There has been no oppression in the last 100 years that I know of. I don't care who you are, how much money you make. If you don't respect our country, then you shouldn't be in this country playing football. Go to another country and play football. If you can't respect the flag and the country, then you don't respect what this is all about. So I would say, adios.
But to say the First Amendment doesn't apply to black people should not be a surprise. Can you tell me one amendment in the Constitution that consistently applied to black people? Besides the 13th Amendment that says, except if duly convicted of a crime, you are still a goddamn slave. That's the only one that's been consistent. And we're acting surprised about it. But it's things that we can do right now. While they appoint us our black leaders and make these stop and frisk policies because pastors in Cleveland somewhere, at this point, it shouldn't be a surprise. It's time that we start appointing our own leaders. We can take the most successful black business people and nominate them, have a real election where we have debates and all of that, and go out and elect the people who we want to be in charge of a group that we put together strictly to fund and help grow black businesses. We all can contribute. We keep saying rich people need to do this and rich people need to do that. We all need to do something. And it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. If you can only send a quarter, send a quarter. If you can send $1 million, send $1 million. And we make sure this group of people that we put together, we make sure that they stay transparent and we make sure they do what they say they're going to do. And we make sure we see results. We see black businesses growing. And if at any point they're not doing what they say they're going to do, just stop sending your money because it's probably been infiltrated. But it's nothing stopping us from coming together right now to build an economy. Our ancestors left us the blueprint. Our ancestors in this country have been successful with business. Now we have to be successful at protecting those businesses and protecting ourselves, protecting our children, protecting our families. And when we build businesses, that would cut poverty, which would cut crime. that would allow us to build our own schools and be able to control our own curriculums. We would be able to fund our own local policymakers, the people who are in control of who is the police chief, who is in control of the tax dollars in your area. We would be able to fund all of that. We would be able to fund our own police. When we build our economy, we would be able to build our own hospitals and be able to teach our kids to be the doctors to be in those hospitals. So instead of us keep marching, we need to take that energy and turn it into progress. We need to take the next step. It's okay to honor our ancestors and the marches they did and the things that they accomplished, but it's time for us to leave our own legacy. Let that anger inspire us to put aside our differences to be able to elect leaders who strictly is for business purposes. And there's nothing stopping us from doing it except for excuses. At the end of the day, we will never have freedom until we have our own.
Yeah, what's going on here, man?
It's a demonstration.
Why is Houston's being shut down? Why can't we get spinach dip?
Well, because they've discriminated against many different people. They have discriminatory policies, and they have histories of discrimination, even legally. Oh, not the employees that quit. That's good, man. That's good. We will not tolerate profiling, and we will not tolerate discrimination. And I mean, our dollar is powerful. You don't respect us, that's your business, but you will respect this bankroll. You understand that? We ain't gonna have it. Not here, not in our time. We work too hard, we drive too much revenue to these businesses. They will not treat us like second-class citizens. It's not gonna happen. Not on my watch, not in my time.
Hell no! Hell no! Hell no! Hell no!
Show me in your policy where it says I cannot be set and I cannot split my group up and become two totally separate groups.
This is the kind of activity that we will not accept in our community as a culture, and with us having buying power in this city.
So, in a post that's now been deleted from Instagram, Houston's claimed the charges are not only unfounded, but an intentional manipulation using social media. It went on to say it only has a limited number of tables for large parties, and it recently instituted a policy not to split up parties of 7 or more people, which means large groups may not be able to dine with them at certain times.
Jemele Hill, ESPN anchor, suspended for another controversial tweet. It was just 1 month ago that she went after President Trump, saying this on Twitter. President Trump, Donald Trump, she said, is a white supremacist who has largely surrounded himself with other white supremacists. Despite widespread outrage over those comments, ESPN at that point took no action. They gave her basically a slap on the wrist for that. Fast forward 1 month later, she now takes to Twitter, going against Cowboys owner Jerry Jones and his mandate that all of his players, he said, would stand for the national anthem. She tweeted this: "Change happens when advertisers are impacted. If you feel strongly about Jerry Jones's statement, boycott his advertisers." This latest tweet, one that takes on the NFL and the people who put money in the network's pockets, has elicited a slightly different response from ESPN this time around. In a statement earlier today, the network wrote this: "Jemele Hill's been suspended for a couple of weeks, 2 weeks, for a second violation of our social media guidelines. She previously acknowledged letting her colleagues down and her company down with an impulsive tweet." So that's where we are today. Brian Kilmeade, host of Fox and Friends, also hosting Fox Tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern. I thought you came home for this breaking news.
I would have come in for you, though.
I know you would.
But this is unbelievable, this story.
Right?
I mean, here's an anchor who's got a show at 6 o'clock with Mike Hill. It's having reasonable success at ESPN. Dodged a bullet, so to speak, when she did not get suspended the first time around. But now she doubles down. And when she says this, what do you expect ESPN to do? They spend $15 billion to get the NFL contract. And she's subtly, indirectly calling for a boycott of Dallas Cowboy goods, tickets. You got to be kidding me. An anchor calling out the Cowboys on a network that spends $15 billion to carry teams like the Cosmos, like the Cowboys, that makes absolutely no sense. I mean, anyone in our business knows that's going to be trouble. Or does she want this?
You know, she was criticized all the way from the press room, the White House press room. Sarah Huckabee Sanders basically saying that the White House felt that it was a fireable offense to call the president a white supremacist without any basis. And, now she's going to get 2 weeks essentially. She might be getting paid. We don't know, right?
We don't know, but think about this. Think Progress actually had a story that has not been refuted, that after she came out with that tweet against President Trump, they said to her, stay off the air. You're off the air tonight. Her co-host said, if she's off the air, I'm off the air. So they said, okay, fine, you're both off the air. They went into the newsroom to get another African-American host, and they said, no, we're not going on either. So they let them go on. So that was a crisis averted, perhaps. Now what's going on in that newsroom? Now what's the backlash outside her? Now Jamil Hill sits back and she says, okay, I'm not hosting my show for 2 weeks. And then who's going to? Who's going to step in there right now? And Al Sharpton,
I believe her co-host has said that he's not going to do the show while she's gone either.
Well,
right?
That I am not sure about, but I will say this. Al Sharpton has already weighed in with a tweet. Al Sharpton tends to be a rabble-rouser. Here he says ESPN's suspension of Jamil Hill is an outrage and should not, in caps, go unanswered. ESPN and advertisers will hear from us. What a mess.
I mean, it's all a debate, that's been going on for the last month or so. Now, she's very upset that Jerry Jones is essentially forcing his players to stand for the anthem. And she's saying, everybody should boycott Jerry Jones for that. It's her choice, but, it's ESPN's choice whether or not they want to keep her on the air, especially now that they're going after their own purse strings.
Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but if ESPN hires you and they spend $15 billion, you do what they want. If you don't want that, I'm sure there's ways to get out of a contract. If the Cowboys owner Jerry Jones tells his players who work for him, even though they own 55% of the revenues, said, guys, I need you to stand up and salute because people are looking at this as anti-American. That hurts our product. It hurts your pocketbook, too. You do it. And the Cowboys did it. Although a few fists were in the air, I understand, saying black power. He said, if I see someone not standing or showing a demonstration, I bench them. Now, what if all the Cowboys take a knee? Do you not play a game? Does Jerry Jones says we don't play today?
I mean, it could come to that. I mean, he could lose a large number of players. How many of the Cowboys, they all stood for the last one, right?
All stood. I believe 1 or 2 fists were in the air, I guess symbolizing black power. We know 23 San Francisco 49ers sat, about a third as many as 2 weeks ago when President Trump called them SOBs.
Yeah, we're just getting ready for Monday Night Football tonight. What do you think the overall impact? Because it felt like this was sort of starting to dissipate a little bit, but now it's completely fired up again.
Well, when the vice president came down to salute Peyton Manning's career and had his number retired and then decided to walk out when he was offended by the 23 players that took a knee, people said, well, that was a stunt. He goes, not really. My son's in the Marines. I'm the vice president of the United States. I cannot stay for this. And by the way, if it's a stunt, someone should have told Mrs. Pence, because she was wearing a Peyton Manning jersey. I'm sure she wanted to get to halftime and watch his number be retired because he's so much more than a football player, especially to the people of Indianapolis. This is getting bigger and bigger, from the NFL to individual teams and now to networks.
Yep. A Cy Fair ISD senior says she was kicked out of school on Monday for not standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, she is telling us today that this is something she has done for years, but it wasn't a problem until now. Janelle Bluto joins us live from the school with the details. Janelle?
The school district has a policy saying that if you do not say the Pledge of Allegiance, you still have to stand unless you have a note from your parent. Well, this student's mother says she tried to write a note, but she was still told her daughter would not be allowed back in the school unless if she stood.
This is annotating an article.
It's her English homework that she finished Monday night. She was early. It wasn't due until Wednesday.
So basically taking notes on an article to answer questions to it.
But now it's late.
And then the pledge came on and they both stood. And then I didn't. And she asked me to and I said I wouldn't. And she said, well, you're kicked out of here.
India Landry is a senior at Winfern High School. On Monday, she was sent home after the Pledge of Allegiance.
I've never been to a school where I was called to come get my child and no one would talk to me about what's going on.
Her mother, Kizzy, says later the principal finally did talk to her.
I would love for my daughter to be able to exercise her rights as well.
Kizzy recorded what the principal told her,
telling me that she can't come to my school if she won't stand for the pledge.
It's something India has done for as long as she can remember.
I don't think that the flag is what it says it's for liberty and for justice and all that. It's not obviously what's going on in America today.
It's never been a problem until now.
They were making rude comments saying this isn't the NFL, you won't do this here.
Mom says they've tried to work it out, but then the district began citing India's grades and absences.
all of a sudden you have all these issues with my child, but I'm like, if it was like this, you would address this a long time ago.
Months away from graduating, India says she may only have 2 options, stand or get her diploma. She knows her decision.
I wouldn't stand because it goes against everything I believe in.
The district has responded saying a student will not be removed from campus for refusing to stand for the pledge and say they will address this situation internally. Now, we're only playing a portion of the recording with the mom speaking because the school has not yet confirmed the conversation with the principal. We also reached out to civil rights attorney Randall Callanan, who says this is a violation of India's First Amendment right because the school is public and therefore treated like a government.
With nobody behind me. Big fucking crime, right? Big crime. A crime enough for you to come with your fucking gun pulled out, right? Right? That's big enough of a turn signal not made is a big enough of a crime for you to feel like you need to take out your service pistol, right? Right? Okay. Right? Okay. That's what's up. Try to see yourself on the internet. Fucking prick shit. That's prick shit, bruh. That's prick shit. You see, if you just came to the car and did your regular routine, I wouldn't have no issue. I turned around to a fucking gun pointed in my face. Do you feel empowered now that you pointed your gun at me? Do you feel empowered? You feel empowered, don't you? Right? What happened? They fucked you up in school. They used to beat you up. You didn't get pussy in school. What made you feel bold to do that? I don't. And I know it's an individual. Not every cop is fucked up. But when I hear something fucked up happen to a cop, I be like, he probably had it fucking coming. Okay. Because the motherfuckers like you. Good cops get fucked up right because of people like you. Okay. You came to the car with your gun out. Okay. For what? Do you have no conscience? You don't see what the fuck going on TV? You don't give a fuck, right? Because I just would have been another dead black motherfucker, right? And you just would have went about your business, right? 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 Let's keep it real. Let's keep it 100. I have no issue if you could just be honest, right? You just would have been like, oh, a mistake happened. Right? You'd have been able to just wake up the next day, not lose a drop of motherfucking sleep. But I'd have had 3 fucking kids. 3 kids with no dad. Dad a criminal? Nope. Dad a thug? Nope. Dad shot dead by a cop, made a mistake. Because you want to come with your gun drawn. You got kids and a wife. Don't you want to make it to your fucking kids and wife? You picked a dangerous fucking job. And I respect that. I respect your job. But Mom G, you drawing a fucking gun? That's why I lose the respect. The respect is out of the fucking window. You drew a fucking gun on me for a fucking turn signal. There's nothing illegal in this car, about the car, about me, but I got a gun drawn on me.